Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone, and you're in for a treat because it is just me on the pod today. I did want to just break down the weekend of footy that was, and you might see if you're wearing the YouTube video. I am putting on the Kangaroos 2017 jersey because I really wanted to get stuck into Payne Haas and what has happened with his big shock defection to announce that he's playing for Samoa at the end of year Pacific Championships, which is one of the biggest defections we've seen in recent years in the international game. It can't be understated how big that actually is. I also want to get into the Battle of Brisbane, which I think will go down as the best one yet in its short sort of 3-year history. The Broncos getting the job done to take a big step towards the finals while inflicting a big blow to the Dolphins' top 8 hopes as well. And also the premiership contenders. Did we just watch the grand final over the weekend with Penrith against the Melbourne Storm and Harry Grant winning a bit of a thriller, a golden point game, plenty of controversy about some of the decisions as well. And, that's been well debated already throughout the week. But a couple of big talking points there. But the first thing I did want to get into is Payne Haas, the 25-year-old who many consider and have considered for the past few years the absolute best prop in the NRL, in rugby league. He's already played 17 games for New South Wales, 4 games for the Kangaroos, 136 for the Broncos. He'll be a 300 gamer as long as injuries don't get to him. I'm hoping, as a Brisbane fan, he'll be a one-club player as well. But on Sunday, he confirmed he was going to switch to Samoa for the end-of-year Pacific Championships. Now, if you like your international rugby league, which I know isn't everyone out there, and Mal Meninga's done a great job the last few years of trying to bring that prestige back. Of course, we are going to see Australia tour England with a best-of-3 series, something that hasn't happened in over 20 years, a proper Ashes tour. Of course, we all know how we have the Ashes in cricket. It was always traditionally a thing in NRL. It has a long storied history, but if you grew up in this generation, even myself, you're probably not too aware that it does have a storied tradition in the game of rugby league as well. But the problem is going to be fielding a team for the Kangaroos because there are plenty of players. Now, the speculation that Payne Haas will now play for Samoa. He spoke very openly about how it's for his family and how much it meant. And he said hearing the national anthems as a kid was a big deal for him to do that. But this is just the tip of the iceberg because Tino Fa'asuamaleaui and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, the 2 Queensland Origin stars, are considering making the switch as well. Nothing locked in. That would be an absolutely massive blow for the Kangaroos because those 2 players you would imagine would play there as well. And I personally, you can see I've watched the Kangaroos. I was at the 2017 final. Big fan of international rugby league and what's it going to do. This end-of-year Pacific Championships is going to be absolutely exciting. Now, Australia's over in England, so we're going to have Samoa, Tonga, and New Zealand battling it out. So the best of the best with one of the games, Samoa and Tonga at Suncorp Stadium, which you'd hope would become a sellout because it's such a massive game. But I just want to take you through a predicted Samoa side just to understand how crazy this could be. This is the one that I found a couple online. I know lots of people predicting them. Suafat Longo at fullback. This is just the one I'm reading here on Sporting News. At fullback, you've got the likes of Brian To'o and Stephen Crichton on one edge. Isaac Tungo and Maori Taulagi on the other. Chanel Harris-Davida and Jerome Luai in the halves. I would have Payne Haas and Terrell May as your starting front rowers. You've got Jazz Tavanga who can play hooker. Jaden Sewer, Sean Bloor, and the lights who can round out the pack. You've got Blaze Taulagi, Junior Barlow, Luciano Leilua. You've got plenty of talent there. And like I said, if those other few players do want to do it as well, Jeremiah Nane could make a switch. So it'll be pretty crazy. But if that is the team that runs out, this is just a massive coup for rugby league. And then for Tonga, if you just want to take a look at Tonga's side, a predicted side potentially could be the likes of Isaiah Iongi at fullback, Daniel Tupou and Katoni Staggs on an edge with Totola Kula and Lehigh Hopewadi on one. Lasu Fino, Asaya Katoa, one of the form halves, could play halfback. Adam Fanua-Blake and Mo Fotuaika, Siwa Wong, Eli Katoa, Jason Tamalolo, just to name a few, Keon Kula-Matangi, who could run out for Tonga. So it is going to be very exciting to do. Katoni Staggs could play for the Kangaroos. I think he'll be an interesting one to watch and whether he declares his allegiance or not. But this was all kicked off by Jason Tamalolo many years ago to play for Tonga before the 2017 World Cup, along with Andrew Fafita and Sio Takawa. Oh my God, I just butchered that. Siwa Takiaho, or Chukiwuki, as I always like to call him. They made the decision back then, and that sort of kicked off this new wave of Pacific International Rugby League back in 2017. And then just a couple of years later, Tonga beat Australia for the first time. I did have the stat up here. They beat us for the first time in a very long time. There was a 16-12 win in Auckland. It was the first one in 41 years that Australia had been beaten by a nation other than New Zealand, Great Britain, or England. So that kicked off this. It all sort of reached a zenith, I suppose, when Samoa and Australia played in the last final of the Rugby League World Cup. There was plenty of hype there that the fact that a tier 2 nation could go and do this, and now it's only going to get stronger. Look, the Kangaroos have the players to round out this talent, but it is making for some very, very exciting games. Now you've got even the likes of Robert Toya playing for Tonga, who just played for Queensland, and Katoni Staggs, like the one I mentioned before. He's played for Tonga before. He's also played 3 tests for Australia. He said in a quote, "I will see how the rest of the season goes. My main focus is here and trying to win a grand final. Whatever comes after that, I'll make a decision." For Payne Haas, it was his uncle, Mark Tafua. That's the brother of his mum. He played in the 2013 World Cup, and he's part of the coaching staff at Samoa. And he said it was a pretty easy decision that basically, and I've seen a few players say this, they want to follow their heart, and that's completely understandable. And the only thing that my only gripe, and then I think this is how we should work it moving forward, and I think it's how it is that if you play Origin, and that's going to be the big debate moving forward, playing Origin, if you can qualify for Queensland, New South Wales, but you want to play for a different country, I think that should be fine. And that's what I think we have to do moving forward to ensure the strength of the international game. I think if you force players who are eligible for Queensland and New South Wales to have to play for Australia, I just think in the modern day and age, and if we're serious about growing international rugby league, you just have to let them do it. That's just the way it has to go, because you're going to weaken the international game. If you're forcing the Payne Haases of the world, the Tina Fasua Mala'awis, to play for Australia when they really want to play for a different country, that's what it's all going to come down to. Look, I'm a kangaroo. I don't have any ties. I think a great grandma for me, I could qualify for Ireland if I ever played international footy, but I would be a true and true Aussie, and I wouldn't have many decisions, and I'll always support the Kangaroos. But I want to see a strong international game. That's what comes first for me as a rugby league fan, and to be able to see these traditional tier 2 nations, which that's a whole nother debate that's going to have to get looked at, because you've got Australia, New Zealand, England, Tonga and Samoa belong in that category now. I don't think there's any debate about it. You've got the traditional top 3 that it has been for the last couple of decades, Australia, England, New Zealand, but now you have to put Tonga and Samoa on that list, and if that's the case, then you have to just change the origin rules, and as far as chopping and changing, I think you should have to pick a country and stick with it. I don't think there should be all this changing. I think it does look weird when you see a player who's played for 2 different countries. But I think they should have to make a decision. And if that's Tonga, Samoa, that shouldn't rule them out from playing State of Origin football. That's just the way I think it should be, and that's the way it should be moving forward. And I'd love to see it because I love the international game. I couldn't actually find any odds for the Pacific Championships because it will be interesting how it all goes out. I imagine they probably need to wait, really, because Tonga and Samoa, they're both going to name very strong teams. And then you've got New Zealand just floating in the background, of course, who everyone forgets is, traditionally one of the best countries in the world, but have sort of been forgotten in recent years in international rugby league because of the rise of Samoa and Tonga. And then the Men's Pacific Bowl is also played at the flip side. We're going to get some really good international rugby league, I must say, at the end of this year. I'm excited. I don't know if I'll catch the games because I know the England series will be at like 3, 4 in the morning. But you've got the Pacific Bowl that runs alongside the Pacific Championships, and that's going to be Cook Islands, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea. So that's a fair coupling of those teams, all with similar strength sides. And then, of course, Australia's over in England with a 3-test series. They're rated, I think, a 4-1 favourite, was I right? Or even stronger than that to take it all out. So you do hope that England can be competitive in that. So Australia's paying $1.20 at the moment to win this series. England's paying $4. So it's not like they're being written off at all. I mean, a best of 3 test series at $4 on home soil for the English. Let's just hope it can be a competitive series. So I can't wait to see what happens there. But yeah, you can't take away from the fact that this is a massive bombshell that Payne Haas has dropped. And it's going to be an exciting trend. He actually cited Jason Tamalolo, like I mentioned before, as the inspiration. So you love to see it, but it is a big blow to the Kangaroos. But they've got plenty of talent floating around, so it will be interesting to see. In NRL action, look, it was a pretty good weekend of footy, I've got to say. It's not as raining in Sydney, so I'm not too sure how this week's going to go. But I want to start with the Thursday, or rather the Friday night blockbuster between the Panthers and Storm. Sorry, it was Thursday night. It's all blurred together. And like I mentioned earlier, Harry Grant going through, no matter what you thought of some of the penalty calls throughout the game, I know there's plenty of debate going on. I don't like to get too drawn into the penalty calls there. But Harry Grant's dummy half a run, the seas just parted after the Panthers players were paying a bit too much attention to him in Golden Point, and he ended up just being able to run straight through the middle. He did have to sell it a little bit. Nice dummy, just an incredibly smart player. The best hooker in the game, Harry Grant, and to run through. Nathan Cleary wasn't happy post-game with the calls. The penalty, and look, that's just the way it goes. And I would not be surprised, that was a grand final rematch. If this is the grand final again, and I think that could be the way that we're heading, that was a preview of what's to come, because these two teams are fairly evenly matched. I know I said some things heading into the game that the Storm hadn't been convincing in their previous sort of month or so of football, some close wins. They smashed a sort of depleted Broncos side. They got beaten by Manly only a month ago, a team at home and a team that's really sliding at the moment, and then some close wins. But against the Panthers side that had won 9 in a row, it was going for their 10th straight. You just have to say Melbourne well and truly deserve to be the title favourites now. And Panthers do deserve to be the second title favourites. Even just looking at the ladder now, that is a big blow to the Panthers' top 4 hopes, actually, because the Warriors got the job done. So they go back to 4, Panthers down to 5th. And Melbourne take a big step towards a home final, whether they can catch the Raiders, who are 2 points above them for the minor premiership, or not. Either way, they've opened up a nice gap between the Bulldogs, who are third and 2 points behind them, who have 130 points less in their points differential. So you think we're looking at a Melbourne Week 1 final, unless anything crazy happens for them to drop off the cliff. And then the Panthers, it will be interesting, because the Broncos win over the Broncos. The Broncos win over the Broncos. The Broncos win over the Dolphins does make it pretty interesting there for that top 4 battle, because right now it's the Warriors on 32, Panthers on 31 and 5th, and the Broncos in 6th on 30, with the Sharks also on 30, but with the worst points differential as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I've done a few ladder predictors the last couple of weeks, and the Warriors have a decent run home, so I'm actually tipping them to finish in the top 4. The Bulldogs have a tough run, but just the fact they have 4 points already on the Warriors, you can't see them dropping down any further, and you'd have to think the Raiders can hold on. They can't drop a game now if the Melbourne keep winning, but they look set for the minor premiership. And that top 4 battle is still open. I'm not convinced about the Sharks. I think they look a little bit shaky, but I think the Panthers or a Broncos side could still make that top 4. The Broncos, of course, have to take on Melbourne in their final round, so that's going to be a pretty tough game. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting with the Panthers as well, a team that was bottom of the ladder after round 12 and now is absolutely flying. It took a Golden Point Melbourne Storm team to finally shut down their winning run. And I'm sure Ivan Cleary probably doesn't even not matter, but I think he probably wouldn't even mind them just getting a little bit of a touch-up just before the final series against the premiership favourites, we can't forget at the moment, just to sort of get that hunger, that fire going. They still don't have Isaiah Yeo. Melbourne didn't have Ryan Pappenhausen either. He's pushing for a return this week. But with 2 of their sort of leaders out, and it was a great game of footy. I was covering it for Fox Sports News, so one to watch. But the game I did want to get into was the Battle of Brisbane. I think it would have to say that it's the best one yet. It was a crucial game for both teams. If the Dolphins had won, they'd have taken a big step towards their first ever top 8 finish. And for the Broncos, obviously, losing Adam Reynolds and Ezra Mam and Selwyn Cobbo long term, it was a big test to see how they can go, and that Billy Walters-Ben Hunt partnership. And you have to say, they're the reason they won in that second half. I mean, after 50 minutes, it was looking like the Broncos season was heading towards the scrap heap. They were down 28-14 with 30 minutes to go. Payne Haas comes on straight away pretty much. Reece Walsh kicks a 40-20. From there, Ben Hunt and Billy Walters with their kicking game pulled the strings. That Billy Walters cross kick after they make that break. Beautiful champagne football. And let's not forget our man, Katoni Staggs. This is our home. maybe with a fuck in there, but this is our home. A man who has been in incredible form this year, and I think if he doesn't want to play for Australia, he's a walk-on side to the Pacific Nations. I'd love to see him pull on the green and gold again. He's a very passionate player, so I'll be interested to see how he sees his sort of future coming towards the rest of the year. But he's in an incredible form, 2 great tries, and the Broncos get the job done, just really steamroll the Dolphins in the end. And Reece Walsh, you'd have to say, that's exactly what we need to see from Reece Walsh. He sort of toned it back a bit. He picked his moments. He finished with 249 run meters. He was the absolute star. He got 6 conversions. He's looking like a great goal kicker at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he beats out Adam Reynolds. NRL is credited with the try assists, 2 line break assists and a try. But he was everywhere and really crucial to what they were doing. And yeah, they just steamroll the side. Went Dean Mara in the 52nd, Josiah Karapani 54th minute, and Ben Tolte in 58. So 3 tries in 6 minutes. And then, like we just mentioned, that boy Katoni Staggs finishes with his double in the 67th minute. Pulls out that this is our home celebration. If you're a Broncos fan, you love to see it. If you're a Dolphins fan, your heart's in your mouth a little bit because it was a massive blow to your season. But I just got to say, this rivalry has become one of the best rivalries in the NRL. It was probably manufactured to begin with, the Battle for Brisbane, the Battle of Brisbane, whatever you want to call it. I'm going with the Battle of Brisbane. They've got 44,000 there on Saturday night. Perfect time slot, 5:30 for them. I'm surprised you don't get 50 to these games, really. But this is a real rivalry. I think there's a real tension. There's a real passion between this. It does remind me of the Broncos and Cowboys and the run that they had after the 2015 grand final and the passion. There was a period of 3, 4, 5 years where a Broncos-Cowboys game was must-watch football. It was ending in golden points, just spectacular finishes, tight, grinding games. Unfortunately, that rivalry, it's still there, of course, that rivalry, and it's the original Queensland derby. But that rivalry just hasn't been as competitive in the last sort of handful of years. But this Broncos-Dolphins rivalry has quickly become must-watch. Of course, the Dolphins smashed the Broncos last year to finish their season, and I'm sure there was just a little tinge of revenge on Brisbane's minds about how they did exit and how they did finish their season last year. This is the second time now the Broncos have beaten them this year. And, one of the best games, I would say the best Battle of Brisbane we've had so far. And like I said too, it's a big step in the right direction for Brisbane, who now play the Knights. Then they've got to go up to Cowboys and do one of those Queensland derbies in Townsville. I'm sure the Cowboys don't have too much to play for, but I'm sure they'd love to put a bit of a dent in the Broncos' finals hopes. And then Brisbane have to finish their season against the Melbourne Storm, which is going to be an absolutely just a tough game, especially when they only played them a few weeks ago and had all those injuries, like I mentioned. I think it would be a bit of a miracle if they can make the top 4. They would need the Panthers and Warriors to continue to stumble, and they'd have to win. You'd have to think they get the win against the Knights, but they will have to keep fighting with this Panthers team, who I think are going to take a lot out of a close loss, and they're going to be tough to beat. So there you have it. That's a bit of a wrap. And looking ahead to international football, I really can't wait for the end of the year. I think it's going to be super exciting to see how all these go. And of course, you've got teams like the Bulldogs and Warriors trying to hold on to these top 4 spots. But it's just such a tight, awesome competition to watch this year. Bring it on. I cannot wait. And you really can't pick a winner. Maybe you can pick the Titans for the wooden spoon. I think they might have a lock on that, but not looking good for them. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us on Season Ticket Holders. Short and sweet, and I appreciate all your support. Just open a Facebook page, so please go and find us. Give us a like and a follow on Season Ticket Holders, and you can also find us, of course, on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So give us a like there as well. Once again, appreciate all your support. Take care. Talk to you soon.